Good day to you all, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in for round 6, the final round, the climax of the second season of the MRC BF1 League. Today we are at Westhill International. My name is Travis Mehlinger. I'm joined again by Tom Jones here on the Sim broadcast team on Twitch.tv. Tom, we had a non-championship round last time out because we didn't have enough participation, but today we've got 13 drivers, enough to run a race, and we have championship scenarios. It's not over yet. We can get an exciting conclusion to this season.
Yeah, happy to be here. It looks like we're going to have a tough battle to finish off and crown our champion.
We will indeed. We're still crunching some numbers in the background, but this is not over for Zdravko Toponiak. I'm watching him line up for qualifying in the background while we bring up footage on the stream. There you can see the configuration today. We are at the very fast, the very challenging Westhill International Circuit. Many high-speed corners. We're running the normal direction today, so the very fast way around. No challenges with any of the escape roads like we've had running in reverse in the past. But there's a big opportunity for these drivers to run flat out today, put on the performances we're accustomed to seeing from them, and today we will crown a champion. And there you can see we'll do one more review of the machine that we're running in this event. It's the BMW Sauber F1.06 Formula 1 car, a 2.4-liter V8 mid-engine, 720 horsepower in a 1,169-pound car, 530 kilograms for those of you around the world not using imperial units. That is without the driver, a bit heavier with the driver in it, but still a very light, nimble, very powerful machine. There, you can see the Drivers' Championship standings. That is the story today, as Gabor at the very top on 65 points, is 15 points clear of Zdravko Toponiak, who has his work cut out for him today to try to snatch a championship win. He nearly did in the first season of the BF1 League, nearly took the victory away from Alexis Lemerto in the closing moments of the 5th round of the first season. A little tougher job today, and Alexis Lemerto is still in the hunt as well. They're on 44 points in third, and Ayub is a long shot, a dark horse, but also not out of the championship picture. There is a slim chance that Ayub could take the championship today, and there you can see in 5th place, Sean Lee, all the way down to 10th, Ronan Kronpush, Nico Batola, Jimmy Virtanen, Alejandro Tres Palacios, and Rick Cardall round out the top 10. I believe there are also championship implications today for the team's championship. If we bring those numbers up, the Citus number 2 squad should still be at the top. We'll get that up in just a moment. There we go. Team Citus number 2 on Gabor's performance in first position with 65 points. 65 points for Gabor, 65 points for Citus 2. But Fragmaster there could take the team's championship today. Santusara is here with his teammate number, Zdravko Toponiak today. So good performance from them. Should see them over the top. But they're... Oh, I think I misread this as the numbers were going by. We got some graphics updating a little wonky there. Sorry about that. But we do have Fragmaster there in second position on 52, and the other team Citus squad in position 3. We do have cars going around the track in the background. Tom, that was a lot to take in. We're still working out the full championship scenarios, but a tight race for the Drivers' Championship and the Team's Championship as we have cars going around in the background in the qualifying session now.
Yeah, indeed. And there we see that is the previous qualifying session results. Santusara taking the top spot there at a 24.24 and just pipping out Alexis Lemerto for the potential top spot there.
Here we go. Watching cars go around right now. We're having a little bit of difficulty with the name labels, so we will try to work out the cars that we're seeing on the screen. But we do have, as we see cars coming by the start-finish line now, we do have Santusara in the top spot on a 24.59 with Alexis Lemerto just behind. Cars coming across the line now, the top 5. Alexis Lemerto down there in third position. Still no time from Zdravko Toponiak, though we do have Ayub Elanuni there in second position. So, Fragmaster driver Santusara setting a very strong benchmark in the 24s in provisional pole position. But the two of the championship contenders, Zdravko Toponiak, still yet to set a time, nor do we have a time from Gabor. We do have Rafael Costa goes across the line to set another time, and there we have Nico Pantola as well, one of the Citus drivers across the 6th position. 6 minutes left in qualifying, still yet to see laps from Gabor or Zdravko Toponiak, but we should see them out in just a few moments to see where they line up. Tom, this is a great-looking car.
Yeah, it's a Ukraine-esque livery there. due to the current global events that are happening on. A little transition he's made from his standard livery there.
Well, we appreciate that. That is, I like that. I like the liver from him. There, we can see Zdravko Stepaniak coming out of pit lane right now and into this sweeping first bend. Still no sign of Gabor. We'll look for him to see when he comes out. But we will keep an eye on this man right here, Zdravko Stepaniak, looking for a championship. Again, still working out that scenario, but not out of it. He does need a strong starting position, and then he will need to run a very strong race. Looks like Rafael Costa, we briefly looked back at him. He may have been off the circuit, or perhaps we just want another good look at the Ukrainian color scheme on the front and rear wings of that machine. I'd like to see more of that during the race, too.
Yeah, I believe from notes Stravko's provided, he needs, if he wins the race, he needs Gabor to finish no higher than, I think it was 4th or 5th for him to secure the championship here today. So he's going to be hoping that things can go his way with his teammate helping out for his push today.
So that is one figure I was able to work out beforehand. Is Gabor is 10 points ahead right now, so Zdravko needs to win. And if Gabor finishes 5th, Gabor would still be the champion on account of having more wins. If Zdravko can win and get the fastest lap, then a 5th would not be good enough for Gabor. And then obviously there are other scenarios that we will work out and share with everybody as the qualifying session shakes out. On board with Santusara right now, streaking under this bridge at nearly 200 miles an hour. Should have clean air in front of him. He's not quite close enough to that car ahead. Hard on the brakes on the curb. Ooh, takes just enough of the curb on the left side to get the car to rotate and misses that bollard. Tricky braking here because the car needs to turn to the right slightly, wide over the curb here. And this very fast chicane, nearly flat in the BF1 car. He may have taken it flat in qualifying trim. The car wants to skate across those curbs as you just miss the tires. Now Santusara will brake hard on the curbs here, get the car nice and tight down to the left, and then feed in the throttle and bring it out. He doesn't bring it out wide on the exit. He keeps it pretty tight. That's the shorter way around, but not quite as quick because you can't open up the steering, but he comes across the line and maintains his pole position.
Yeah, fantastic lap from him there. Just as he was coming around the final couple of corners, Gabor did pip him at the top, but Santusara putting in a fantastic lap there to go 3 tenths up ahead. This is an incredible performance, qualifying performance we're seeing from him today.
Yep, and speaking of him, looking down on Gabor right now, 3 tenths off Santusara in the lead. Pretty impressive lap from Santusara to be 3 tenths clear of Gabor, but there are 3 minutes left in this session. Somebody sneaking by Gabor there. Gabor, I'm going to assume Gabor's not on a fast lap because we can't tell that it doesn't look like he's moving very quickly, but somebody sneaking through right past him. That may have been Daniel Lukostic who went through. It was hard to tell from the overhead shot.
Yeah, I believe it was. He is on a fast lap as we're on board. Ayub here, I think, is just getting ready to start a flying lap, just building a bit of space from the car ahead, I think.
Yep, Gabor also, that's a good observation, Tom. Gabor is doing the same. Building up the speed, trying to keep those tires nice and cool. They want to go around on R2s in qualifying to maximize the grip that they get out of the car, but because there is so much cornering load on these tires, it heats them very quickly, and they can go off before the end of the lap if they don't take care of them in the warm-up lap. Here we see Imran Azar coming through the final corner. Looks like he is starting a flying lap. He comes streaking across the line. As behind him, I'm looking at Daniel Lukostic, who's also starting a flying lap, and Gabor should be starting one behind him as well.
Yeah, I believe you've got a long string of competitors here just starting what could possibly be their final flying laps for this session.
Yes, indeed. Here we are on board with Gabor Gira, all over the left-hand curb, far over the curb on the right, just missing the bollard, wide to the left, using all of the road. Now flat out. Oh, just a hint of a lift there. Almost on the grass, fully committed, going through as quickly as he possibly can. Gabor now wide to the right side of the road, full throttle through this corner, manages to keep his foot all the way down on the floor. He'll have to lift slightly here, just dab the brakes to get the car to turn in and down one gear, wide over the curb on the left, still within the lines, but very, very close. The margin's very tight for Gabor. Hard on the brakes now. He'll be down to 4th or 5th gear through this chicane, using as much of the curb as he possibly can, cutting over the grass to shorten the track as much as possible, wide over the curb now, and flying up this hill under the bridge, approaching 200 miles an hour as he goes through this right-hand kink, and then hard on the brakes right after the 100-meter board, using the curbs on the right to open up the circuit. Just misses the apex on the left a little bit. He was a little bit wide of the bollard, didn't get the car to turn in very well. Now hard on the brakes into this right-hander, just over the curb on the right. Oh, a lift into the middle of the chicane, but this will be a very good lap. He manages to keep the rear of the car from getting away from him. Coming up to the final corner now, he'll use the curb on the right to widen the corner. Nice and tight down on the white line. You don't want to touch that curb because it upsets the car pretty badly. Tight on the apex on the exit. Not all the way out to the edge of the road, but he doesn't have to do that if he can carry the speed. Looking down on him from above to cross the line, and he does not set pole position. He doesn't go faster than his current P2 time. Sentusara still setting the benchmark at the top, 0.3 ahead of Gabor.
Yeah, that was a very impressive lap from him. It really looked like he was maybe pushing a little bit too hard through some of the corners, which cost him a little bit on the 8 exits, and it reflected in the time. Either that or Santusara has just found a lap of the gods with the margin he's got.
Well, he may have. Sentu is no slouch. Sentu is a talented driver. As we watch his teammates, Zdravko Toponiak, come through that corner using all of the curbs here. Can't tell whether he lifted or not, but he looked mighty committed through the middle of the chicane. Now, approaching the final corner, he'll want to be as wide on the right as he can be. Doesn't want to unsettle the car with the curbs. Misses the apex slightly, not all the way down to the white line. Zdravko Toponiak will be the last car across the line. Time has run out for qualifying, so this is all or nothing for Zdravko Toponiak across the line. Now, into second position alongside his teammate. His teammate Sentusara will be P1. Zdravko Toponiak will line up P2 ahead of Gabor in third, with Alexei Lemerto in fourth position, rounding out to the first 2 rows of the grid. And the final championship contender, Ayub El-Anouni, will line up fifth. Imran Azar will be sixth. Daniel Lacoste is seventh. Nico Pantola will start eighth. And in ninth position, we will have Rafael Costa. We'll have 13 starters today. Only 9 took part in the top 10 qualifying session. Not sure where our 10th car went for the top 10. But there you go. There's your grid. Sentusara in pole position. He'll have some strategic flexibility with his teammate, Zdravko Toponiak, in second. But all the championship contenders, once again, there at the top in second, third, fourth, and fifth position. Tom, this is, I think this will be a banger of a start.
Yeah, I believe it will. It was a fantastic qualifying session. We see that Santusara really setting the pace up at the front, and the 2 of the Fragmasters car on the front row, perfect place for them to start the final race of the season.
Yes, I agree. While we are waiting, we can talk strategy a little bit. So Zdravko Toponiak gives us some reconnaissance before most of these events, and we don't want to blow his cover today. He gives a very detailed assessment of what he would like to do during the race. But what he did indicate that we could share and talk about is because the circuit is so fast, and because the fuel load makes such a big difference to the drivers, we could see a lot of variety in the strategies.
Yeah, of course. He did say that, and the R4 might actually be a viable tyre for the first time of the season. So, it could be interesting to see if people are opting for R3s or R4s today.
Yes, indeed. And he also suggested that so what we've seen him and others do in the past is run a short R4 stint because the tire has not typically been a viable option for those races, but could be, as you said, Tom, a viable option today. What could also be a viable option is a short R2 stint. We've seen short R4 stints in the past just to get through the rules that dictate you use more than one compound. That could be done with R2s today. A short stint on R2s to get the compound change out of the way, and then switch to R3s, or perhaps even a very long R4. We will see.
Yeah, either way, I think it's going to be a very exciting one. It's going to be interesting to see what some of these drivers who are a bit further out of touch of the championship winning positions, if they're going to come up with some sort of wild, crazy strategy and see where that puts them at the end.
Yes, indeed. Well, while we wait for the officials to start the driver's briefing in the background and then start taking up grid positions, we will take a break, and we will be back with you in just a few moments. We are back here on Sim Broadcast for the 6th round of the MRC BF1 League Season 2. Today at Westhill International. Once again, I'm Travis Mehlinger, joined by Tom Jones. We have a few things to talk about as drivers are readying up in the background. We will be setting the grid in a few moments to start the formation lap. Championship scenarios. We talked about that a little bit before we went to break. We know that we talked about Zdravko, where he needs to finish if he wants to take Gabor, but other drivers are not out of it yet. Alexi Lamerto not out of it, and notably Ayub Elanuni, though he is down there in 4th place on 42 points. It's a very long shot for him, but he could still do it. And we wanted to talk about his performance this season. Tom, you observed while we were getting ready to come back on that Ayub might be at the top, might be pretty well clear at the top, were it not for some bad luck. And a non-championship round a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he's done really well all season. He's had a couple issues earlier on where he didn't have the Wi-Fi connection to hold the entire race, which cost him severely. I don't think he'd be at the top, but he'd definitely be a lot closer and would definitely be in for a good fight today for the championship if his Wi-Fi was able to hold during those races. So hopefully it'll hold for him today and we can see another great performance from him. And of course, 2 weeks ago didn't help either with the non-championship round that we had there. On the note of that as well, Gabor, these last 2 rounds that we've had, he's had an absolute dream where in Fernbay it just did not go well for his competitors and nobody was able to really close their gap on him, so he was able to hold that margin. And then last time out, of course, had the non-championship round, so once again both his nearest competitors were there, but neither of them were able to score any points, so he's still holding a nice margin going into this one.
Yeah, Fern Bay in particular, I think probably the turning point in the season for Gabor, where, as you said, like he didn't turn up, he wasn't there, and it was a big opportunity for his competitors to take points off him. And then Zdravko Deponiak went to the back and then was charging toward the front before he was caught up by a back marker. But that's how it goes sometimes. Good luck, bad luck. It can go your way, or it can go away from you and to your competitors. And this is what we have to work with today. But once again, not everybody out of it. Alexi Lamerto still in the hunt for a championship. Tall order for him, a little taller for Ayub Elanuni, but anything could happen. Gabor could be the victim of reliability today. We've seen it happen to everyone else and have not seen it happen to him, so it's entirely possible. There we see the Drivers' Championship standings once again. Gabor, as we've said, at the top on 65 points, 15 points clear of Zdravko, who is looking for a championship as well. Alexi Lamerto in 3rd, Ayub Elanuni in 4th. Your 4 championship contenders there at the top of the order. We're slow to ready up in the background. Don't quite have a grid ready yet.
With the team's championship, of course, with Santu Sara turning up this time round, it's going to be a lot better for the Fragmasters team to push for this championship as well. So there's 2 championships, of course, wide open and available for today.
Yeah, we've seen this in the past where the teams tend to bring drivers when they need to make big moves. So we've mostly seen Zdravko Deponiak doing the work for the Fragmaster team. Today, Santusara turns up to try to secure a team's championship for them, and then
for formation lap.
In pretty impressive fashion on pole position, there we can see him driving away from the grid to begin the formation lap. Santusara and Zdravko Deponiak running in formation on the front row of the grid to start this event. From the line, we could see in the background Zdravko Deponiak and Gabor. They let Santu go away in the lead, and then both of them lit up the rear tires and drag raced one another down to that first right-hand bend. So nice show from them. Gabor has said in chat, I think you observed this earlier, Tom, that Gabor had some funny remarks for Zdravko. If you want to share those for our entertainment.
Yeah, I noticed somewhere Zdravko mentioned about he was racing Fox Fridays when he was 23, and of course it being his birthday today, I believe it is, and Gabor said, "And now you slower." So Zdravko replied back, as Arnold would say, "Old but not obsolete." So a good bit of banter happening between the drivers there.
Yes, and Gabor, I believe Gabor also said that perhaps today it was his turn to punt Zdravko off. For those who have not been watching, Zdravko's early season was marked by a few mistakes in the opening laps of the races, and came together with Gabor a couple times in the first and second races at the very least, and was the recipient of some penalties. See these drivers snaking through this tight left-hand bend, and this is an interesting corner because you can see on the right side of the shot there how the road drops off. It's a little bit off camber that drops off at the apex, and then there's the sweeping entry into the right-hand bend that follows. That'll be challenging for these drivers on cold tires. So we watch them snake through the chicane. The grid now coming up to the final corner. They'll take up their grid spots on the start-finish line after these two corners. And in just a few seconds, we will be away to start the final round of this championship.
Lining up now for the final time this season, coming on Santusara, coming on down, lighting the rear tyres up to make sure we've got plenty, as much heat as possible for this start.
There we go. Cars taking up their grid spots. Santusara there on the right side of the screen. Pole position, just slightly ahead of his teammate Zdravko Deponiak, starting in second position. Santusara has Gabor behind him, and then Alexis Lamerto alongside Gabor. All of the championship contenders there in the top 5 positions, with Santusara ahead of them. Ayub back there in 5th position. Lights coming up now. We got the call from race control. We should see 1 red light. There it is. 2, 3, 4... 5 red lights for the 6th round, the final round of the MRC BF1 League 2022 Championship. Cars are away right now. Santusara gets a good start. Zdravko Deponiak does as well. Gets right behind his teammate. Gabor snaking behind Zdravko Deponiak. Cars running line astern down to this bend. A couple cars alongside now. Alexis Lamerto looking inside Gabor. Gabor goes around the outside of Zdravko Deponiak, but then wide on the grass. Zdravko Deponiak has fallen back a couple positions. Ayub El-Anouni has taken advantage of this to fall in line behind Santusara. In second position, there's a car off in the gravel. Could not see who that was. Looks like Daniel Lukastik, one of the Fragmaster machines. Santusara, though, away in the lead from Ayub El-Anouni. Gabor in 3rd position. Zdravko Deponiak drops 2 positions. He and Gabor nearly got together in the first corner. That puts Zdravko Deponiak back to 4th position. Imran Azar in 5th. Rafael Costa 6th. In 7th position, we have Heikki Huhtinen with Lucidi behind, and Alexis Lamerto in that Shemazel tumbles all the way to 9th position. Mostly clean start. Nobody off the circuit. All 13 cars. No, we have dropped a car. We've got 12 cars running. The 13th, the start of the race, has stopped somewhere. Not sure who that is. We'll have to find out who had come off. Looks like we only started 12 cars. I thought we had 13, only 12. That's my mistake. But now we watch these cars snake through the final corners. At the front, Ayub El-Anouni is closing on Santusara. Might be able to make a pass coming into the first corner. Tom, everyone through cleanly. But now with the championship implications, they're starting to unfold here in the first lap. Ayub has exactly what he needs. Gabor and Zdravko are still there, so this wouldn't be enough for Ayub, but this is the ideal start for him.
Yeah, fantastic start from Ayub. Just coming up the inside now, done Santusara on the straight into the lead, starting from 5th place on that grid and then all the way up to lead the race as we go into lap 2. A absolutely wonderful dream start for Ayub there, which is fantastic to see. Gabor did well to get with Stravko in the first corner there. Big battle from the two of them, but luckily neither of them out of the race and both continuing. So Stravko is going to want to try and close him back down. I wonder if Ayub is running a more aggressive strategy to start the race with, like we saw him a few weeks ago. I wonder if he's doing that to try and build a margin and then he's going to go for an early pit stop, because I remember Stravko noting about how big of a part that fuel is going to play.
Yeah, looking at Ayub's machine, much more temperature and higher pressure in his tires than Santusara chasing him. So might be on something, a slightly different strategy from everyone else. He's gapping Santusara a little bit at the front. Looking back to Alexi Lamerto, he has a train behind him. We could see a car in that overhead shot, Daniel Acosta trailing him with 3 more cars behind. So Alexi Lamerto perhaps picked up some damage when he went off the circuit in the first couple corners. Could also be it's entirely possible this is also just a strategic artifact. Ooh, as a car goes off in the background, was that, I think that may have been Imran Azar. Azar off the circuit. The line goes past him. Yeah, so Alexi Lamerto could be damage, could be strategy. We will see how his race unfolds. But at the front, Ayub El-Anouni starting to stretch that gap over Santusara. Added a second between the second split and the start-finish line. Santusara not able to keep up. We speculate that this is the result of a strategic decision by Ayub El-Anouni. Looking at his tires, it certainly looks like this is a repeat of his strategy from earlier in the season. We've confirmed he's on R2s. So Ayub El-Anouni choosing to run hard and quickly for a few laps at the start of the race, and then set into a rhythm after a first early pit stop.
Yeah, we expect him to come in the next couple laps or so. I think to note about Alexi Lamerto, he did have a bit of a struggle at the start where I think it was turn 2, he slipped onto the gravel on the outside and had a load of cars go past him. He has gotten back past most of the cars that went past him, and he is starting to build a gap on that train behind him. So I think this is just him having a recovery drive now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Tom. Near the front, or nearer the front, I should say, Zdravko Toponiak now running behind Gabor. This is a straight fight. Zdravko Toponiak closing on Gabor. Won't be able to have a look coming into the final corner, but if he gets a good run out of this corner, gets the power down early. Ooh, he does. Nice and tight on the apex. Just clips that curb to help the car rotate, and he is firmly in Gabor's slipstream. Might be able to have a look coming into this bend. See the car building speed right now. Gabor not going to fight it. Zdravko Toponiak fully alongside, pitches the car into this bend, full throttle, using the downforce and these squishy tires to grip the pavement, and he is through. Gabor does not put up a fight. Gabor wants to get on with his race, does not want to get into, well, maybe Gabor would. He probably wouldn't mind getting into a collision with Zdravko Toponiak because that would still have his championship on. Ayub, while we were talking about that, in the pits and then out. So that was the strategy. Early R2s, built a small buffer over Santusara in second position, and now Ayub El-Anouni has a gap to the cars ahead of him. He can run in clean air with fresh rubber and an ideal fuel load to set optimal pace. We will keep an eye on him.
Yeah, I think Stravko now building a comfortable gap on Gabor, and I think when he gets up to Santusara, I'd expect Santu to let him on through, and then I'd expect Sara to act as a bit of a blocker to just let Stravko get away and try and back Gabor into the field behind him, because he needs more cars to overtake for Stravko to win this championship here today.
Yes, he does. And this is an ideal situation for the Fragmaster team. Zdravko Toponiak chasing his teammate and closing. Zdravko setting good pace and catching up to Santusara slowly but surely. These two can work together. We don't know exactly what strategies they're on, but they can use complementary strategies. They can communicate with one another to try to optimize this race in their favor the best they can. The same is not true for Gabor and Nico Pantolas. We saw last weekend, Tom, in the E-Challenge race, how they were able to work together and swap positions when one didn't feel like he had the pace to let this teammate go through. But they are separated by a lot of time and a lot of cars today. They do not have that luxury. Yeah,
Alexi now right onto the back of Costa for 4th place. He's done a fantastic job to close up a bit more, but I still think he's got a bit of a gap ahead of him. I think it's about Nine and a half seconds there to Santusara in first.
Yeah, this is interesting here that Alexi Lamerto looked a bit sluggish in the opening laps. We saw him at the front of a line of cars. Now has come alive. He's catching Rafael Costa, but he also has mirrors full of Daniel Lukostic, who is another one of the Fragmaster drivers here today. So looking good for the Fragmaster team, running first, second, and sixth. Nice overhead shot looking at Alexi Lamerto in this competitor sandwich. You can see all the rubber that these cars put down, the huge amounts of downforce, the extreme grip from those tires of the racing line. Very, I was about to say obvious, as Daniel Lukostic takes a ride into the grass, compromises him slightly, gives Alexi Lamerto a little bit more room. At the front, Zdravko Toponiak going alongside Santusara. Tom, there it is. You called it. They can work together. Santusara gives Zdravko the slipstream, and Zdravko is through running in clean air. This is what he wanted. We talked about him before the race, and this was the scenario he was looking for, was getting to the front and then driving flat out for the entire race.
Yeah, absolutely no fight there from Sara. Didn't even held his line, let Zdravko go through, and then just tucked in behind him. And it's just now, I think, just going to act as a wingman and try and back Gabor up. This is not what you want to be seeing if you were Gabor, and especially seeing those faster guys behind starting to come on through as well. If Sara does what I think he will do, then it's going to be big issues for Gabor later in this race.
One of the themes of our season it has been our predictions, mostly Tom's predictions. My predictions have not borne fruit. Tom's tend to be pretty good. Tom, on this one, I think you're probably right again, that Santusara can just set a pace. He is faster than Gabor. We saw him build that lead. Early on, so we know he has the pace to race with Gabor. Gabor might be able to catch him. Santu might be letting him catch up. And then, as you said, Santu can make his life very difficult. This is still not enough for Zdravko Toponiak. Gabor in third and Zdravko winning still has a championship, still means a championship for Gabor. But working together, as you said, Santu can back him up into his the competitors behind.
Yeah, Costa's doing a fantastic job here to keep Alexi Lamerto behind. They've done a really, really solid job so far. I did expect Alexi to get past him a lot sooner, but he's having a really good job at holding him back here. Of course, very long start-finish straight here does make you very vulnerable into turn one, but Alexi Lamerto just not quite close enough. So I wonder if maybe Alexi Lamerto is trying to do a little bit of fuel saving, or if it's just a case that Costa's pace is just that is just enough today.
Yeah, I think it is. He's typically been quick, not front of the order quick. He's done well in qualifying and then struggled a little bit during the races, but today, consistent and strong. He's improved enough to keep Alexi Lamerto behind him. Last season's champion. That is not easy to do. So, good performance thus far by Rafael Costa, with Alexi Lamerto and then Daniel Lukostic not far behind.
Yeah, I wonder if Alexi Lamerto is running a bit higher downforce than Costa, because he's very quick through the corners in comparison, but there's a little bit of an issue on the straights in terms of keeping with him. So I wonder if Alexi Lamerto is just running a higher downforce set, which is causing him these issues and trying to get past.
Yeah, that shot into the left-hand bend, you could see the difference between Alexi Lamerto and Rafael Costa. I think you're probably right that Alexi might be carrying a little bit more downforce. And we know he is a very talented driver, but we could see Alexi Lamerto close on the brakes there, very late on the brakes, much later than Rafael Costa was able to close. But then, as they went through the following bends and then down that winding back straightaway after the chicane, Alexi Lamerto falls off a little bit. Yeah, so I think you might be right. A little bit more downforce, gives away some top speed. If that's the case, we should see him close through here, even though he's running in the dirty air.
Yeah, look at that. He's a lot quicker through there. He's able to close that gap right up through there. So I think it is going to be a higher downforce set, and that could be a hindrance for Lamerto in terms of getting through. They see round the really high-speed corners right up onto the back of him. So he's going to want to be real close to the back of Costa going onto the start-finish straight to be able to make that pass.
And he'll have to make a quick run of this chicane, which is hard to do because it is so treacherous. Costa gets through there pretty cleanly. Alexi as well, but he's not close enough. He's not going to have enough slipstream here to get onto the back of Rafael Costa. As you said, he needs to be right under Rafael Costa's gearbox in order to make this work. But not close enough here. We'll see how he does down the front straightaway. Rafael Costa, a nice slide through that corner. Looked not the quickest way around, but it looks really good on camera. Alexi Lamerto fast through those bends. Here is where he wants to be really close. He put a wheel on the grass on the way into the corner, though, had to catch the car, and he's still a little bit too far back. That does allow Daniel Lukostic to catch up. So this is a nice three-way fight. Daniel Lukostic still a little bit too far back, unless he's carrying less downforce than Alexi Lamerto.
No, I think this could be the opportunity here. Yeah, I think it is. He's really close from here. It's just probably about two car lengths of gap. It's just the downforce is just hindering me. He's just not quite able to overcome the margin, but he's a lot closer through here. So we could be seeing an opportunity maybe through some of these higher downforce corners into the braking zones.
Yeah, Mo watching the telemetry in the background says Alexi Lamerto about 10K down. So that's carrying a lot more downforce, perhaps also carrying a little bit more damage. So we'll keep an eye on this fight. At the front, Zdravko Deponiak is extending his lead on Santusara ever so slightly. Was 3 seconds a lap or two ago. Now the better part of 4, and Gabor is not able to catch Santu. Tom, I still like your strategy prediction that Santu might try to back up Gabor, but the three of them running with pretty good gaps in between them. Ayub has moved up to 10th position, made the early pit stop, started very quickly on R2s, now 31 seconds off the lead, running on R3s. Ayub El-Anouni with lots of clean air to work with as we switch back to Zdravko Deponiak, starting the 10th lap of the race. So on lap 10, we will reset. Zdravko Deponiak is the leader of the race, a little bit less than 4 seconds ahead of his teammate Santusara in second. Gabor runs third with Rafael Costa, keeping Daniel Lukostic now at bay in 5th position. Daniel Lukostic, while we were talking a moment ago, was able to get past Alexi Lamerto. We didn't see what happened to Alexi. Alexi is now in 6th position with Nico Pantola catching him from behind up to 7th. Heikki Uutinen is in 8th. Imran Azar, who went off early, is 9th. Ayub El-Anouni clawing his way back up to the front of the order is in 10th position after an early pit stop, an alternate strategy. Lucidi runs 11th, and Jeff Jakob is in 12th position. Will be down a lap pretty soon, so Zdravko Deponiak won't be long. He will start negotiating back markers.
Yeah, his pace at the front is fantastic. As the fuel's coming off, you can tell he's getting faster. His last lap was his personal best of the race at 25.88, and he's just pulling time out of Sarah. And I've made the prediction that Sarah would look to back Gabor up, but Gabor's just not catching him. So I wonder if Gabor's going to end up dropping back into Costa or Daniel Lukostic soon.
Yeah, I don't want to blow his cover, but Zdravko said that he will run like a madman for the whole race, and so far it looks like he is doing it. Looking down on Gabor right now, behind Gabor, just coming through the chicane that he left a few seconds ago, Rafael Costa now has Daniel Lukostic to worry about, but Alexi Lamerto is alongside Daniel Lukostic right now as Zdravko Deponiak is in the pits. Lots going on all at once. So these drivers coming through the final corner right now, they will go by Zdravko Deponiak, who has stopped in pit lane. We can see him rolling away now. There we go. We see them come past. So Zdravko going to come out in traffic. This is not ideal, but there shouldn't be too much of it. Cars are pretty spread out, and we see one car coming through the final corner now. So Zdravko Deponiak does have clean air. He will come out ahead of Ayub El-Anouni, so this is key. Zdravko Deponiak was able to run a fast enough pace that he stayed ahead of Ayub El-Anouni, so that is one of his competitors still behind him. Tom, it's on for Zdravko.
Yeah, I wonder if Ayub was running too little fuel at his first stop, so he had to stay a bit longer for the extra fuel to go in, which might have cost him the extra time to Zdravko. Either that or Zdravko's just set fantastic pace on those on his previous stint.
That could be. We will see. Looking behind these guys, as we see Santusara now resume the lead and head through the chicane. Gabor's made a mistake in the background and lost a little bit of time, and right behind Gabor, this three-way fight for 4th position is still on. Alexi Lamerto is now all over Rafael Costa once again. Alexi made a mistake through here the last time he was this close to Rafael. Looks nice and clean through there. Rafael takes a bit of the grass. Alexi Lamerto just not quite as quick as we would expect. Rafael Costa putting up a spirited fight to hold on to this 4th position and making it very difficult for Alexi Lamerto, though he goes a little bit wide into the final corner. That will let Alexi carry the speed, but we've seen coming down here, Alexi's downforce making it very difficult to catch and pass through the fastest part of the circuit.
Yeah, I think Alexi might be a bit unhappy with his setup. I think he's realizing he might have put a little bit too much downforce on, because it's definitely hindering him in any attempts to make these passes.
It really is. We've seen him close through here before. Alexi Lamerto, all of this downforce makes the car work really well through this fast corner. This bend right here, we've heard him go through without lifting. You can see the performance of the car coming through that corner as he closes behind Rafael Costa coming through here. But this is where it gets very challenging for Alexi Lamerto. He's close enough that the dirty air, the turbulence, the aerodynamic influence of the car ahead makes it difficult to follow. And the extra downforce means he is not carrying the top speed down this straightaway. Daniel Lukostic into the traction control, has a sniff of the slipstream of Alex Lamerto. So Alex Lamerto frustrated ahead and also has cars to worry about behind.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. You got the three-way fight there. I think Alexi Lamerto is going to have to just keep on Costa and try and force him into a mistake or an error and keep himself clean while doing so and just trying his absolute best. It's all he can do in this situation.
Yep, that is true indeed. We saw Alexi take a lot of the grass through the chicane that time, clearly getting a bit frustrated, a little bit closer out of the final corner this time, but he's not able to get the power down. Rafael Costa takes that nice wide line out of the corner. He goes out to the edge of the circuit, opens up the steering, reduces the friction from the tires. Alexi Lamerto keeps it pretty tight, and I think that plus the additional downforce makes it so he cannot fire the car off the corner the way he would like and catch Rafael Costa. Looking at Zdravko Deponiak now in our pictures, we can see Ayub in the background. Ayub might be catching ever so slightly. Zdravko will be burning off this early fuel load and just now bring the tires up to temperature. Someone's gone off in the background behind Santusara. That's Jeff and Jakob, the back marker. We talked about this a few minutes ago, that the leaders were going to catch back markers. They have, and it looks like he has beached it. The car is moving slowly. Plenty of runoff here, Tom, so I think he'll be able to get it free safely.
Yeah, I think looking at what was happening, he just didn't move out the way as Sarah expected him to, and they just had a slight collision which nudged him off the road there. Lucidi getting out the way nicely for Santusara further up the road, so he's now past the two back markers so far.
Yeah, and now we have... there's a lot going on. Gabor gaining on Santu slightly. Alexi Lamerto alongside Costa coming through the tight left-hand bend at the very back of the circuit. They went side by side into the following right-hand corner, and Daniel Lukostic was all over Alexi Lamerto when he had to check up because Rafael Costa didn't see him, closed the door. Now they continue as they were before. Alexi Lamerto taking that tighter line, still a little bit too far behind Rafael Costa to do anything about this, but now on the scene is Alexi Lamerto's teammate Nico Pintola, just a second behind Daniel Lukostic now.
Yeah, it's really starting to bunch up this train from fourth all the way back down to sixth, and then Heikki Huhtinen he's just 2 seconds off the back of Nico Pintola, so he could end up closing onto that, and you'll have a nice 5-car train running here.
We will indeed. Great shot back from Rafael Costa here. We can see these cars snaking around through the background. Rafael misses the apex there slightly, but I think the dirty air is enough to keep Alexi Lamerto at bay. Alexi hard on the brakes, catches up under braking here, keeps the car tight through the chicane. Might be a little bit closer on the way out now. Alexi gets a great run out of the corner, but he runs wide over the curb and onto the grass. Rafael Costa wants to keep this position. He's defending on the left side of the road. Alexi Lamerto swings out to the right side. Hard on the brakes in front of him, passes him on the outside. Rafael Costa nearly gets in the back of Alexi Lamerto. I think he did. And then touched by Daniel Lukostic. I think that was just unfortunate. Rafael Costa looked like he lost the car on his own, maybe after just touching Alexi Lamerto, and spins the car off and collects Daniel Lukostic. That's a shame. I don't think that was anyone's fault. It was just a small mistake, and it's come undone for Rafael Costa and Daniel Lukostic. That's too bad for both of them.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking for the pair of them. Costa was driving so well. He was doing a fantastic defensive effort. And I think as they went too wide, it's always risky fighting too wide in these sort of cars. And he just lost the control slightly. And then, of course, Lukostic coming round the corner, slightly unsighted. So it's just a bit difficult there. So let's hope the damage isn't too much. He can get out quite quickly and resume.
Yep, there we can see behind Rafael Costa, Imran Azar in the pits and just leaving right now. When that happened, Daniel Lukostic rejoined not far ahead of his teammate, Zdravko Deponiak. Zdravko Deponiak was picking up the slipstream as they went through down the front straightaway. I imagine Daniel will let Zdravko through pretty soon. There we can see the two of them running together now. Daniel Lukostic will be compromised somewhat after that collision with Rafael Costa. I expect we will see Zdravko Duponiak go through after the chicane. It looks like the front of Daniel Lukostic's car is damaged slightly, so that's going to compromise him through here. He has to let Zdravko. Oh, there's a better shot. That car is badly bent, Tom.
Yeah, that's a big hit on the front nose. It doesn't. I can't quite see if it's damaged to any suspension or something, but that's a lot of aero damage either way. So he's gonna want to get that fixed at his next pit stop.
Yeah, arrow damage or not, I find it hard to believe that it won't have compromised the suspension. Nearly loses it in front of his teammate. Zdravko has to be shouting at him to get out of the way, give him the slipstream long enough to benefit Zdravko's race, and then get on with it and avoid any risk here.
Yeah,
see Zdravko put the power down. Oh, go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
Yeah, a car like that isn't what you want to have in front of you when you're in a situation like this. Zdravko's got the championships to think about, and Daniel Kostic there, he's doing a fantastic job for his race, but he does, I think, need to get out of the way of his team-friendly team.
Yeah, I assume these two have to be in communication. Maybe they aren't. But I guess Daniel's holding his own ahead. It's not like Zdravko is all over him trying to get through and unable to get by. This gap has stayed somewhat steady, so perhaps on different strategies. Zdravko not needing to catch him here, but I know if I were in this situation, I would be a little bit frustrated with my teammate for not jumping off to the side of the road, or at least lifting a little bit to give me the slipstream and make up a little bit of time. Yeah,
it's understandable, but it's one of those where it's each race for their own, and I do believe that if Zdravko gets up really close behind him, I do think Daniel Kostic will move out of his way. I don't think we're going to see a big fight put up, but we'll have to see what happens.
We will indeed. Looking at Gabor now, I think Gabor is catching Santusara slightly, comes out. Imran Azar came out of the pits as Gabor went flying by. Yeah, so Gabor is closing. Well, he was closing at Santusara, but now the gap has extended a little bit. So I think this gap staying fairly steady around 4 seconds as Alexei Lemerto goes into third position with Nico Pantola behind him. The cars that collected one another a few laps ago promoted Nico Pantola up to fourth position. So now he is running line astern with his teammates. They were pretty far apart at the start of the race, but now Sidus Driver is running second, third, and fourth with Heikki Huhtinen in fifth. Zdravko Duponiak still there behind his teammate Daniel Lukostic in sixth and not closing. While Zdravko is failing to close on his teammate, Ayub is catching Zdravko at a rate of knots.
I wonder if, because Zdravko does of course have a young child, so I wonder if there's anything going on at external with the child. So anyway, I hope Zdravko can get his pace going, because he did note his child's just recently had all its vaccinations, so hope the child is okay.
Here we go, Tom blaming the family for Zdravko's performance. We'll take that up with Zdravko at the end of the race. Watching Ayub now closing. Still closing on Zdravko Duponiak. Zdravko falling off his teammate, not as close as he was, and Ayub doing the job here. This is the dream for Ayub. He came off early on an alternate strategy, started on R2s, ran a couple very quick laps, and then ducked into pit lane to run in clean air with fresh rubber and the ideal load of fuel. Ooh, we watched Zdravko to go a little bit wide there. Yeah, this is bad for Zdravko. Ayub has the situation in hand exactly the way he wants it, and now in Zdravko's slipstream. So Zdravko going backward when he really wants to be going forward. His strategy was to run hard and close that gap as he made his pit stops, and that has not happened here. Ayub is on the scene now.
Yeah, I wonder again, because we saw it down the straight, Ayub wasn't closing up to Zdravko as fast as I thought he was going to, so I wonder if Ayub's maybe running a bit higher downforce again on Zdravko.
Yeah, that could be. Ayub very close behind him now. I assume Ayub will, if Ayub gets the power down here through the chicane, he will be able to follow Zdravko down the straight, benefit from the slipstream, and get through him. Zdravko fast through the chicane. Ayub compromised a little bit. Looks like he didn't quite get through there, didn't get the power through the middle of the chicane and then out on the exit. So Zdravko preserves his seventh position for a few more corners. And there we've got a race control message. Rafael Costa, a warning for causing an avoidable incident. That would have been the incident we saw a few laps ago when he got together with Alexei Lemerto and Daniel Lukostic. Hey, I'm not we might. I don't know that we can weigh in because it all happens so quickly. They've had the chance to review. Car off ahead of these guys. That was a Lucchini well off the circuit there. We only got one shot at this, whereas the officials get to review it a few times. Didn't look to us like it was anyone's fault in particular, but we see Ayub in the slipstream easily sails by Zdravko Deponiak back onto the racing line, and away he goes. So Zdravko Deponiak, this race not going according to plan at the moment, and Ayub running very quickly, closing the gap to the leaders in the front.
Yeah, we're a bit over third of race distance, and of course there is the pit stop cycles still to come, so we will have to see what's going to be happening ahead. I believe
go ahead, Tom.
Once pit stops have gone, I do think these guys will be jumping back up to the lead of the race. Just hoping, have to see how Sarah comes out in comparison to them.
Yep, Lucchini, as we were saying that, Lucchini has joined the spectators. Saw a message after he asked permission that the car was undrivable because he had put the wrong set on. While we were watching that, Daniel Lukostic ducked into pit lane. So Zdravko Deponiak now 7th behind Ayub, left their teammate behind some time ago. Daniel Lukostic now running with a fresh nose on that car, so that looks a little bit better. On lap 20 now. Gabor inherits the lead of the race as Santusera ducks into pit lane, watching him come across the exit line now. That promotes Alexi Lamerto to 2nd, Nico Pantola to 3rd. Santusera comes out in 4th after being in command at the front of this race. Heike Huhtinen is in 5th. Zdravko not going away. Ayub got through in pretty commanding fashion on the previous lap, but Zdravko's still there with him. Zdravko will need to find something, perhaps an alternate strategy, a dose of inspiration, because the race is not going according to his plan at the moment. That is Ayub in 6th, Zdravko Deponiak in 7th, Daniel Lukostic running in 8th with Rafael Costa in 9th, Imran Azar in 10th, and Jeff and Jakob, who we watched go off and nearly beach it a few laps ago. That would have changed the complexion of this race, running a lap behind in 11th. Heike Huhtinen here chasing Santusara. Santusara on cold tires and a heavy fuel load. Looks like Heike should have this done fairly easily, or chooses. Nope, he's going to choose to follow. He'll have another shot down the front straightaway.
Yeah, Zdravko, I wonder if he just made a pit stop a few laps early, as I wonder if it was a case of his fuel was limited, or if he just decided to go in the pits a few laps early, because the 4 or 5 second margin he had to Sarah is now an 8-second deficit. So it's not been the best, as Gabor has just set the fastest lap of the race with a 25.02, and Nico Pantola has gone into the pits there as well as Heike Huhtinen. So this should promote Zdravko back up the leaderboard.
Indeed it does. We see Ayub cycle up with Zdravko behind him, coming alongside one of the cars leaving the pits there. That car, couldn't see exactly who it was, but dutifully keeping it tight on the left side of the road on the pit exit. See Heike Huhtinen exiting the pits now while we watch Gabor in the lead of the race, has set the fastest lap. So now Gabor, the championship leader, in command of this race, though we still have a long way to go and at least one more pit stop cycle for all of these drivers. Anything could yet happen. Alexi Lamerto, 13 seconds back in first, had a challenging opening few laps of the race, stuck behind Rafael Costa before Rafael went off, but now Alexi clear of his competitors after fighting with them in the opening laps and then coming together with a couple of them. Rafael Costa inheriting a penalty for that incident some laps ago.
Yeah, as we're in the middle of the pit stop cycle here. Gabor is just absolutely flying at the minute. He's just on a 24.89, so he's really trying to make sure he has that fastest lap. So as many points as he can get today, he has in store to help him.
And speaking of pit stops, Alexi Lamerto now in for his stop. This should cycle him back behind Zdravko Deponiak and maybe all the way back to Nico Pantola. Santusara goes through, chasing Gabor. Ayub will be through shortly. There's Zdravko Deponiak easily ahead of Alexi Lamerto. So Alexi Lamerto cycles back. Looking at the gaps, Gabor is just about a pit stop ahead of all of these drivers. He may be able, if he can continue running fastest laps, he may be able to keep the lead when he cycles through his pit stop. I think we expect him We expect him pretty soon, unless he is running really long on this set of tires and fuel load. But these drivers in 4th, 5th, Alex Lamberto, Zdravko Deponiak, they haven't lost that much time to the lead. Still a pretty close race. Zdravko has dropped back behind his teammate Sentu, who he was able to pass earlier on. So complexion of this race still unfolding. Not entirely clear yet where everything will shake out. But we did just watch Ayub go through, and one thing we can say for certain is that Ayub is on a flyer today. Very confident, driving this car very well, very consistent. Still a lot to play for as we come up on the halfway point in this race in just a few laps.
Yeah, that's one thing about these slightly longer races, that you don't really know where everyone is realistically until everyone's made their final sort of pit stops, because then you can see how people actually are. As Ayub is actually right off onto the back of Santusara, just about a second or so between them as he goes into the pits. So he's running. So that's 13 laps, I think it is, he's done on this stint, maybe a bit more. So let's see how, if he's doing a tire change or just fuel here.
And we'll keep an eye on Ayub in the background. Gabor still setting incredibly fast laps. He's extended his lead a further 3 seconds just in the last 2 as he goes through one of the Fragmaster back markers a few moments ago. Watching Alexi right now as, here we go, Ayub Elanuni comes out of the pits. He is cycled. He's still in the 6th position, well clear of Heikki Huhtinen there in 7th. So Ayub took the lead early, did a very short stint on R2s to extend a gap, and then used the clean air to climb back up the order. And that has promoted him up to 6th position. Still yet to see how Ayub's strategy unfolds, but it is looking very good for him. Now watching Zdravko Deponiak 4 seconds behind his teammate. Not really going according to plan for Zdravko Deponiak. Ayub Elanuni needs a bit of luck. He needs a lot of luck if he wants a championship, but the race, I think, going pretty well for him. Obviously also going well for Gabor, going as well as it could for Alexi Lamerto, but Zdravko, off in the grass there as we look down overhead. Not going as well as Zdravko would like, I think.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how he's able to pull this back, because it's a deficit he's not going to want to have. So hopefully he's able to just get in his rhythm and just start flying back up, as we've got, of course, the 2 Fragmaster cars in 2nd and 3rd, just trying to chase down that Sidus 2 car up ahead.
Yeah, looking at the equipment, Santusara is watch him nearly go wide over the curb there. That would have been a big accident if he dipped a wheel on the grass. Santusara, the car looks really strong, and he is driving really well. Tires in the middle of their heat cycle. Zdravko struggling a little bit, not quite through the heat cycle, or perhaps running just a little bit hard, a little bit more, trying to demand more grip than the tires are willing to afford. And trying to chase down his teammate, but that gap staying steady, about 4 seconds up to Santusara. Meanwhile, Gabor, perfect timing. We see Gabor come into pit lane right now with a 33-second lead on Santusara. So I expect Gabor should come out really close to Sentu. Gabor taking fuel only, not tires. We see Sentu negotiating the chicane right here. Gabor will easily get out ahead of Santusara. Sentu not even to the final corner yet as we watch Gabor slowly trundling down pit lane, about halfway now. And can't even see Sentu in the background yet. Sentu just now through the final corner as Gabor leaves pit lane. So Gabor in and out, no tires, only fuel, no tires for Gabor. So Gabor will have to change compounds, will have to take a tire stop. So we assume that he will certainly also be taking fuel later on. So not over yet for the drivers behind Gabor. That is a full pit stop cycle for the field, at least the contenders at the front. Gabor retains the lead, 17 seconds ahead of Santusara. That will come down a little bit as the timing cycles through. Santusara in 2nd with Zdravko Deponiak now 20 seconds behind Gabor, though closing the gap on his teammate. Zdravko is catching Santusara. Alexi Lamerto in 4th, with Nico Pantola in 5th. Ayub Elanuni, who we believe is in the hunt for a victory here, could snatch it away, running 6th, 44 seconds off the lead. In chat, we do have the final driver of the day poll for the 6th round of the 2022 MRC BF1 season. So please do have a look for that link. Go vote for your favorite driver. Hard for me to say who my driver of the day is yet here today, Tom. Everybody looking really strong. Not sure who I would pick.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell at the minute because there's a variety of strategies on display here, so it's difficult to see which one is performing best, and might be difficult to see which drivers are putting in a really strong performance in comparison to the people around them. Earlier on, I would have said Costa, but then there's the issue that happened earlier on. As you see, Stravko going into for his second stop of the race, I believe it is. I think this might just be fuel only. Yeah, fuel only. I've just heard in my ear, so he'll probably drop about 20 seconds or so further back as a result of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to ask him about this strategy after the race. I'm not going to say it's wrong, but I do not understand it. So we'll have him clarify when we get a chance to talk to him afterward. That does let Alexi Lamerto through. Zdravko Deponiak coming out of the pits now ahead of Nico Pantola, so that's good. Zdravko Deponiak only loses one position during that stop, and his tires are still up to temperature, though he does have Nico Pantola all over him. It's going to be a little bit challenging driving this car with the heavier fuel load, but the tires through their heat cycle. And behind these two, Ayub has arrived. So Zdravko in the pits keeps the rubber he had. Oh, Ayub has gone off.
Oh,
No.
That must be technical issues from his end. Something's gone hardware. That's not the result you wanted. He was driving so well, and that front left just doesn't. The angle, the camber's gone, and it looks like it's got positive camber. That front left tire is not how you want it to be. He might have to pit to get that damage fixed now. That is heartbreaking for him.
Oh, this is terrible for Ayub. He is such a talented driver, and the results. He's had all of these results like within his grasp so many times, and then something lets him down. Typically it's his internet connection. He's gotten that sorted, and it looks today, the way he went off, it looks today like perhaps a controller let him down. That is a shame for him. He'll come into pit lane, make a stop, hopefully repair and continue on, try to make the most of it, but that is heartbreaking. That is a shame for Ayub. Ayub's so talented and just so often let down by his equipment.
It's just sort of an omen of his series, isn't it? It's basically exactly what's happened to him through this season. He's had internet issues, of course, now hardware. He just doesn't seem to be able to catch a break with it.
No, he really doesn't. So while we keep an eye on Ayub to see how well he can recover, he'll be in pit lane in just a moment if he's not now. Zdravko Deponiak has gapped Nico Pantola, so Nico was right there, and now Zdravko has checked out. He's that was a few tenths and is now the better part of 2 or 3 seconds. So Zdravko getting in the rhythm with the heavier fuel load, the benefit of tires that were already up to temperature and through their cycle, and now he is streaking away from Nico Pantola. Looking at Ayub, stopped in pit lane, taking repairs, perhaps also fuel and tires. Again, heartbreaking for him. He is so talented, and hopefully the luck will come his way in future events. Looking at Gabor, in control, 8 seconds ahead of Santusara. Santusara not going away. This gap staying pretty steady. So Gabor, though we're used to seeing him take the lead and then fly off into the distance, not so today. Competitive pace out of Santusara as we just passed the halfway mark. So halfway through this race, once again, Gabor in the lead. Santu tries once again to give us a heart attack near that curb, pushing really hard. Santusara in second with Alexi Lamerto in third. Zdravko Deponiak in fourth position. Not the day he wants. Nico Pantola in fifth with Heikki Huhtinen in sixth. Zdravko's teammate, Fragmaster teammate, Daniel Lukostic is in seventh. Rafael Costa promoted up to eighth ahead of Ayub Elanuni after going off a lap ago. Ayub in ninth with Imran Azar in 10th and Yefan Yakub in 11th.
Yeah, Santusara definitely got some very good pace here today and is keeping it Gabor in check with it. As Alexi Lamerto there, 24 seconds behind Gabor and just 16 behind Santusara. They're in third place.
Yes, Zdravko told us before the race that he would run flat out like a madman, and you know, we know that he always gives 100%, but it looks today like 100% just isn't quite enough. His competitors also have a lot of pace, so Zdravko struggling here. We watch Heikki Huhtinen comes through these corners now. Back to Daniel Lukostic, Zdravko's teammate. Daniel Costa, who was running a strong race early on before he came together with this driver right here, Rafael Costa. Rafael Costa was given a penalty for that. Looked like it was lag. Rafael Costa from Brazil. Oh, it was a warning. I'm hearing in my ear that it was a warning, not actually a penalty. So Rafael Costa, everyone looking really strong today, actually. Imran Azar and Jochen Jakob have struggled a little bit at the back, but all of the other drivers on circuit, good pace today, high driving standards, everyone driving really well.
Yeah, it's been very good to see the drivers that turned up today being putting on a really good show and being really trying their best. And it's, although there's big gaps, I think it's just down to the pit cycles. So it's going to be interesting to see how this closes back up as we get towards the final 5 or so laps.
Yes, I agree. Here we see Ayub now has chosen not to park the car. We admire him for that. Very frustrating, the equipment giving up on him a few minutes ago and putting him into the barriers. But he's been into pit lane to repair fresh tires, a load of fuel, and he is off again. He's a lap behind, but he could still make up a couple positions. He does need to catch Daniel Costa and Rafael Costa, so realistically, he could still take 7th position, perhaps 6th, or a bit better if something were to befall the competitors ahead of them. But there we look down at Gabor once again, that fast left-hand sweeping bend, full throttle, maximum downforce, squishing the car into the pavement. Gabor is fully in control. 8.5 seconds of Santusara. Tom, I feel like this gap has been stuck at 8.5 seconds or thereabouts for the last 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, I think we saw during the first stint that they had before they went for their first pit stops, the two of them were just matched on pace with Sarah a little bit faster. Now it just seems that the pair of them are just absolutely mirror images of each other in terms of pace-wise. Neither of them seems to be able to pull away from the other, which, if you're Stravko, isn't exactly what you want.
No, it's really not. We've seen Gabor negotiating the chicane, a little bit tentative through the middle of the chicane, though he did stop not too long ago. Daniel Lukostic and Rafael Costa are together once again. Oh, no, Daniel Lukostic. Oh, that's all on Daniel. I don't think he realized that Rafael was there on the outside, and Daniel moved to the right side of the track to take the racing line and just cut off Rafael Costa. Rafael had nowhere to go. He's going to miss the pit entry, too, because he spun past it. This has gone bad to worse for Rafael Costa. Rafael got a warning earlier for an avoidable collision. I think this one may go the other way. Doesn't look like he's too badly damaged. He will surely have suspension damage, but he's going through these fast sweeping bends fairly quickly. That's a shame for him. It's gone from bad to worse.
Yeah, it's not what you want. Just hearing my ear, it's not. He's got a little bit of front left damage, but it doesn't seem to be too bad. And hopefully, he was able to keep going. I think he'd probably get that repaired at his next pit stop. But of course, it was just he had the slight overlap on the outside there, and I don't think he had any idea he was there.
Nah, I've made that mistake before. That's an honest mistake. The consequences of that mistake are pretty big, but certainly don't believe he intended to do that. Just didn't realize that Rafael Costa was there and they came together. He did, Daniel Lukostic, that is, did spectate after they came together. He was spinning across the circuit and chose to just bail out. So that will, though it's certainly not going to affect his race or his championship, the officials will take a dim view of spectating during the race. That is against the rules. If the car is disabled, you're meant to come back to pit lane or stop in a safe place on circuit. So they will have thoughts to share with Daniel Kostic for that. Watching Alexi Lamerto now through these final bends, looking really clean over the curbs there, through the chicane, just cutting over the tires and missing the grass on the exit. Alexi Lamerto looking pretty strong at the front. Gabor has extended that lead slightly over Santusara as we have a race behind. Nico Pantola is chasing Zdravko Duponiak. That gap had grown to a few seconds. Now looks like it might be coming down slightly. Zdravko Duponiak, we expect before too long, will be in for a fresh set of tires. He chose not to take tires on his previous pit stop and just doesn't have the pace that he wanted to try to win the race today and maybe take a championship away from Gabor.
Yeah, I think he noted that the R4s were quite strong, and I believe he's currently on the R3 compound. So I wonder if he might look to go back onto the R4s because his pace was really good on that. So we'll have to see what he decides to do as it goes.
Yeah, watching, tabbing through the drivers ahead of Zdravko right now, it looks like I expect it won't be long before we start seeing drivers come in to take tires. They're starting to wear a bit thin. They're through the peak of their heat cycle, through the optimal part of the tire life. And that is true of Gabor, Santusara, and Alexei Lemerto as well. So the three drivers ahead of Zdravko Toponiak will definitely need to take tires. At least two of them will need to change compounds as well. Um, I don't recall. We'll have to ask. Elmo will jump in our ears in a moment to tell us. I don't recall if Zdravko has changed tire compounds yet or not. So still at least one more set of stops. This could shake up a little bit more as we watch Santusara sweep through these bends using the downforce of the car, the mechanical grip. Full throttle through here. Santusara looking really good, but now his pace starting to fall off slightly. He was holding the gap steady to Gabor as he goes off in the grass there. That's commitment to keep your foot in it when you're fully in the grass. Santusara dropping off slightly from Gabor now, who is stretching his lead.
Yeah, just had it confirmed that Zdravko has indeed changed tyres from R4s to the R3s.
So then Zdravko is all set on his compound change. We know that he will not have to change compounds. He will almost certainly need to get a new set of tires, but he has free choice of whichever compound he uses. Santusara, we need to check on him. Alexei Lemerto, we don't believe has changed compound. He will definitely need to take new tires soon. Speaking of Alexei Lemerto, he has Ayub all over him now, so Ayub has not given up. He's running as hard as he was early in the race, despite having gone off just a few minutes ago. The gap growing a little bit now. He was right under Alex Liberto's rear wing as they came into this back part of the circuit, but now looks like Ayub maybe struggled through the chicane or before the chicane, has fallen off slightly. Alex Liberto stretching that gap. So on lap 34, we do have Gabor still in the lead, 10 seconds clear of Santusara. Alex Lemerto runs 15 seconds back in third position with Zdravko Toponiak in fourth and Nico Pantola in fifth. And we do expect to see a cycle of pit stops pretty soon for all of the top four. Could shake things up with 20 laps to go in this race.
So I've been watching Santusara a little bit on my other screen, and I've been noticing he has little mistakes that are slipping in. So I wonder if the fact that he can't actually see any competitors around him, he's a bit on his own, that he knows he needs to set a pace to catch up. But I wonder if just the sheer fact that he's not got any cars around him is allowing mistakes to slip in. And I wonder if this is we're gonna start seeing this with some of the other drivers on track as well.
Yeah, it's easy to lose concentration when you're running on your own. It's nice to not have competitors around you. You don't have to worry about somebody making a mistake ahead of you, or somebody in your mirrors trying to make a pass or just making a mistake behind you. So it's nice to have the clear space ahead and behind, but it's also it's easy to become kind of complacent when you don't have someone to chase or you don't have someone to try to keep behind. Where you're really focused on hitting your marks. It's not difficult to just make a slight mistake, a slight lapse in concentration, and then the time adds up, as you said, Tom. A tenth here or there. Santusara has. Well, I was about to say that he got the gap down close to 10 seconds again, but now a couple more tenths. Gabor takes a couple more tenths out of Santusara. So Gabor, this has been the hallmark of his season, his consistency. He goes into the lead, he stays in the lead, he runs perfect laps, and that has been the difference for him. He is perfect or nearly perfect on every single lap, and all his competitors just not quite the same consistency as Gabor has.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a 54 lap race. Yes, you don't need to be a second a lap faster, but if you're consistently setting the same pace and your competitors might jump as 10th faster on one lap but then be 3 tenths slower on the next, you're still 2 tenths up, and he's done that very well. As we're looking here for Imran Zar and Costa having a fight, Zar did just get past Costa, so is now looking to pull away up ahead, but Costa's going to probably try and stick with him and see if they can close back up.
Yeah, this is the only fight we have on circuit right now, though. That gap has now grown as Azar goes through. Don't know that it will be that close. We'll keep an eye on them to see if they dice a bit more through the final corners on the circuit. There we see Gabor growing that lead, 10th by 10th, just a 10th here and a 10th there, sweeping through the fastest bends on the circuit, slight lift into this corner and out, over the curb. So committed through that corner. He's been down to the apex and then all the way out to the very edge of the road, just breathing on the grass every single lap. And you can see it paying in the gap to Santusara. That gap now up to 10.7 seconds, just a tenth at a time. Gabor cementing his claim on the lead of the race. About 2/3 of the way through now. Exactly 2/3 of the way through now. I did that math very quickly. Gabor in the lead. Santusara 10.7 seconds behind. Alexi Lamerto in third with Zdravko Toponiak further back in fourth. Nico Patola in fifth as Gabor. Oh, we were just talking about lapses in concentration and mistakes. Gabor goes a bit wide through the middle of the chicane, off on the grass on the exit. Very lucky not to strike the barrier there. I think he got his foot out of the throttle, stayed off the brake, and was able to control the car, bring it away from the barrier without hitting it. That will have gotten his attention, Tom.
Yeah, he's very lucky there, because as you lose your concentration a little bit, and at these speeds that they're doing, a little lapse in concentration can result in a big crash for you. But he's got very lucky at where it's happened, and he's managed to just stay out the barrier. So I expect him to be his head fully back in the game now, and to see some quite impressive laps, or at least very great consistency from laps over the next few.
That will have gotten Santusara's attention, who has suddenly taken a second out of Gabor. Gabor going a little bit wide over the curbing in the right-hand bend a couple corners ago, just over the grass. So maybe the tires coming to the end of their life, the temperature coming out of them, the low fuel load, the characteristics, the behavior of the car, not the same as it is early in the stint. These cars do change lap by lap. We've talked about this with Zdravko Toponiak in the past, how the car is so performant, there is so much grip, they are so light, the fuel load makes such an enormous difference to the behavior and balance of the car that they change lap by lap, and you have to be very attentive to how the car is behaving and how you need to adjust. And perhaps that's what happened to Gabor there. The car is just starting to feel a little bit different as he comes toward the end of the stint, and then a brief lapse in concentration or a very slight mistake, and that can be amplified. Ooh, there's a car off that looked like Jefan Jakob, who has looped the car again, stays out of the way off the racing line, and then rejoins, clear of anyone else. Zdravko Toponiak going to be coming through here in a moment, so he may have to negotiate Jefan Jakob if he goes off again. Zdravko's gone wide too. Everybody just teasing the edge of the road there, trying to shorten the track, open it up as much as possible. But that's very risky, as we saw from Gabor just a couple laps ago.
Yeah, I think Gabor is starting to have issues with his tyres, because I've been watching him on board, and he ran a little bit wide through, I think it was turn 2 just a minute ago. So I think we might be seeing him coming into the pits soon to get those tyres changed.
There we see him sail through the very fast chicane at the lowest part of the circuit. And we see him weaving. Don't know if that means he's listening to us or if he's trying to feel out the car. Down through this, not quite a hairpin corner, but it is a very tight left-hander through the final chicane here. Wide over the curb again, touching the grass. Gabor tempting fate once more on the grass again. You could see the back of the car wiggle as he touched the grass coming off the curb. Gabor now clearly struggling with the car. That gap, which was almost 11 seconds just 2 or 3 laps ago, is now down to 8.2. So Gabor struggling, trying to maximize the pace, but clearly the car not behaving the way he would like. He does go past pit lane once more. So Gabor trying to make a strategy work. Clearly has a plan, but that gap is evaporating quickly.
Yeah, and this is only going to play into Sarah's hand, because Sarah can now see him up the road. You could see him as they come out of that final chicane, and also down the start-finish straight. And when you can start seeing the person ahead that you need to catch, it kind of spurs you on a bit, I find, to gain a little bit more pace. So he's going to have that playing into him.
Yeah, looking at the tires of the top drivers, Gabor, I think we have an answer. Gabor clearly running lower pressures than his competitors. If I look at the tires on his car, the middle part of the right side tires, the tires that take the most load, they are more worn in the middle than they are on the inside. So he's using low pressures to get to keep the grip high, and that's compromising him now as we watch him pop the bollard as he goes through there. Yeah, using low pressures to maximize the grip, but the wear pattern has made it very difficult for him to control at the end of the race. The pressure's going out of the tires, the temperature's coming down, they're near the end of their cycle. This is becoming very challenging for Gabor, and Sentu is taking advantage, clawing that gap back. It'll be below 8 seconds when they cross the line, and Sentu still has plenty of time to try to catch Gabor.
Yeah, he's starting to sneak on. He's trying. The mistakes are sneaking through, and it's not ideal. He has just set a very good lap though, over 25.2. So I think he might have righted his mistakes a little bit and is starting to get back on. But we'll have to see what sort of lap time Santos is going to do. And there we go. He's taken 6 attempts out of him. So he's trying to put the mistakes out of it, and he's pushing hard now towards the end of his stint. So he's clearly trying to get absolutely everything out of his car, and he's still got some pace in there.
Here we are on lap 40. 14 laps remaining. Gabor is still in the lead with Sentusara chasing. Gabor struggling with the car. We know he has to make one more pit stop, and he will have to change compounds. Sentusara chasing him about 9 seconds back. Gabor has picked up the pace a little bit, as Tom said. Alexi Lamerto has fallen off. He's in third, but he's 25 seconds back from the lead. Zdravko Dubonyak in fourth has hung around at 35 seconds from the lead. So Zdravko, we felt like was struggling earlier on, has not gained time, but he has also not lost much time. Notably, the top three, Gabor, Sentusara, Alexi, they all need to change tires when they come in. And we know that Gabor and Alexi Lamerto also have to change compounds. Not sure about Sentusara. We need to check on that. This man right here, Zdravko Dubonyak, he's actually in position to finish strongly. Zdravko Dubonyak has made his compound change. The tires appear as though they will be able to make it to the end of the race. He may need to come in for fuel. We will see. We don't know that yet. But Zdravko Dubonyak has been running further back, but he may be closer to the front as the pit stops cycle through.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the comments that Gabor made before the race started, and he reckons the cars will use about 3 3/4% of their fuel tank in fuel each lap. So that just shows how much of a weight change will happen each lap as Zdravko is going into the pits now. I wonder if this is a change onto a different tire, or if it's just fuel we're going to see here.
No, he won't be changing tires. He's already made the compound change, and the tires are good to go to the end of the race. So he will take fuel and run as hard as he can. I wonder if he's been pacing himself or not. But short stop for a final low fuel run to the end of the race. But I think he's going to be too far back to make up the gap to the leaders. He's 49 seconds now off the lead. Nico Patola we see in pit lane and now leaving. That promotes Heikki Huhtinen, who goes sailing past as Nico rolls away. Nico hearing he is on R4s now, so I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge, though the R4s work better here. We talked about that earlier on. Tom noted the R4s work better here than they do anywhere else, simply because of the speed and the load on the tires. They can actually carry some temperature and pressure. Gabor goes through once more in the lead. He's Sentu closing in ever so slightly on Gabor, now down to about 8.5 seconds. But Gabor tempting fate, running the margins very thin on the life of his tires. He will be in any moment now or risk going into the barriers. We know he has to stop. We know he has to change compounds. He will definitely be taking fuel. Boo, he's still just tickling the edge of the road there, trying to keep the pace up, using as much of the road as he can to try to keep this gap where it is. He should be safely in the lead when he comes in, but Sentusara has not gone away, and Alexi Lamerto is still in striking distance, though Alexi Lamerto also has to stop. We see there in fourth, Zdravko Dubonyak now a full minute behind Gabor. Unless he is able to claw back 1 or 2 seconds per lap, I don't anticipate that Zdravko is going to be in the hunt at the end of the race.
Yeah, Gabor really pushing that car, using absolutely every millimeter nearly in places of the road that he can. It's a risky strategy to pull when your tires are so worn out like his are, but if it's making it work for him, it's making it work. He needs to push to build the gap on Sara, but he's going around again, so we're going to wonder how much fuel has he have left, and I wonder if he's possibly going to try and hold out for another 6 or so laps and try and make an R2 run to the end. I wonder if that's what he's going to try and do.
Yeah, I doubt that. It would be an interesting to try to make it work. It would certainly put a big stamp. The Gabor is the champ stamp on his race win. Sentu, we see that gap grew to 10.5 seconds while we were talking about Gabor a moment ago. Sentu looped the car further back on the circuit. He did couldn't tell if I tabbed to him just as it was happening. Couldn't tell if he did a full spin, just a pirouette and on with it, or if it was a half spin in the middle of the circuit. He wasn't off for long because that gap grew from 8.5 seconds to 10.5, so he didn't lose that much time. But he was off. Slight mistake, as you said earlier, Tom. Sentu making these tiny little mistakes that, for the most part, Gabor is not.
Yeah. As you say, there's a car spun on the exit of the chicane. I'm not sure who it was, but I think I just saw Gabor go past someone who was facing the wrong way. Either way, I think it's cleared now, but that must have been a little bit of panic for Gabor as he's going into the pits now. So he's see what he's going for here.
Yeah, he's come into the pits as Heike Huttinen is leaving. That was Nico Pantola who spun, now goes past his teammate. And in behind Gabor, we see a Frag Master machine come through that looks like the 94 of Sentu Sara. Goes past the cones for the sin bin. They're in the middle of pit lane on this circuit. Gabor on his way down pit lane as a Sidus car comes through past Gabor. That is Alexi Lamerto now in the lead of the race, with Gabor falling a few seconds behind. We know Alexi Lamerto will have to stop. Those tires will not make it to the end of the race. And he does also need to change compound, so Alexi Lamerto will be compelled into pit lane in just a few moments. Gabor out on fresh Rober once more, will inherit the lead. Sentu Sara, I believe Sentu is also in pit lane. Was he in pit lane? Okay. Oh, I noted his name as he went past the sin bin. There's lots happening. It's very confusing. Sentu Sara now off chasing Gabor once more. These two level on strategy now. I expect they are both on R4s with the same level of fuel. Sentu doing the same move that Gabor does, using all of the road on the exit of that sweeping bend. See, Alexi Lamerto will enjoy the lead for a moment, but will have to stop in the pits in a lap or two.
Yeah, it's going to be to see which out of these two can get their tires back up to pressure, and who's going to be able to respond over these last 10 laps the best. It's just about a 10-second gap between the two of them, so see which one is able to deal with the tire changes and get going again the best.
Yeah, so Mo has told us in our ears now that, there's Alexi Lamerto coming into pit lane. Sorry, Tom. Alexi Lamerto, the last one who needs to change tire compounds. He stops. We will see him do that. And then I believe everyone will have completed their pit stops. They will have made their compulsory tire compound changes. And we will have a run to the end of the race in the last 5 laps. That does let Sentu Sara go through. So Sentu Sara, right where he was, about 10 seconds behind Gabor. Alexi Lamerto coming down pit lane now. Zdravko Duponiak just coming off the final corner, so Zdravko Duponiak will keep 4th position, not able to catch or pass any of the drivers ahead of him, let alone Alexi Lamerto in 3rd place. He is pushing as hard as he can, and he is on ideal tires, so he may yet be able to catch Alexi, though I don't think his championship hopes are dashed, because he needed to win this race or finish second and have something terrible befall Gabor, but that has not happened here today.
Well, there's still just about 10 laps to go, so I wouldn't call it done yet. Anything can happen. Like we saw in the first race of E-Challenge earlier this year, it looked like it was set until that late safety car where we lost one of the lead runners due to the damage that they had.
Nico Pantola in pit lane. Yeah, he has some damage. He's been off. We saw him go off once a couple laps ago, and I think he's been off again. So in to repair damage as his teammate, one of the Sidus drivers, the Sidus 2 driver today, Gabor, running in his own team and his own livery, goes past Nico Pantola in pit lane. Nico Pantola rolling once more. Sentu Sara will get by. And I believe we have Ayub in the background too, chasing Sentu Sara. Ayub, bad luck early on. Looked like his controller quit in the middle of a very fast corner. but Ayub not giving up. Ayub up to 6th position. Zdravko Duponiak is gaining time. So he's on an ideal tire, whereas his competitors are trying to make R4s work. Watching Nico Pantola out of the pits, sliding all over the place. Other drivers will not be faring much better. Zdravko Duponiak on low fuel and the ideal tire, running much, much quicker than everyone else ahead of him, though 27 seconds off the lead. I think he'll be able to catch Alexei, Tom, but I don't know that he'll be able to get anyone else.
Yeah, I think he needs something big to happen to Gabor and Santu up ahead for any chance of him to come back on through and claim a victory here. So I think the best he can aim for is that final podium spot.
Yeah, watching him now, we can see Alexei Lamerto in the shot. So that was a much bigger gap just a few laps ago. I believe it was either Pete or Elmo said in my ear that Zdravko was doing laps about a second quicker than Alexei, and it is showing visibly now there in the shot. Looking back from Alexei Lamerto, we can just see Zdravko coming through the corner there in the background. So Alexei will have to make do with a challenging situation. R4s on a short run at the end of the race, while Zdravko has tires in or near their prime. Both of them level on fuel for a fast run to the end of the race. Alexei Lamerto will start his 47th lap. 8 laps for Zdravko Duponiak to try to snatch a podium position.
Yeah, Zdravko's there lapping mid-25s, low 25s at the minute. He is really putting in a really good effort. And I've just heard he was 0.8 of a second faster than the leader in that last sector alone. So I can tell you, I saw him go through the chicane on my screen and he had it absolutely hooked up, and it's showing in his lap times in comparison to those ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm watching Alexei on board, and we'll see the split time as he comes through the chicane. He's going to catch his teammate Nico Pantola, so Nico could hold him up, could also give him a little bit of a tow to help him stay ahead of Zdravko Duponiak, though Zdravko Duponiak running much quicker than Alexei. Nico Pantola can't help Alexei that much. I think Zdravko is going to be there in a lap or two. Yeah, 46.94 for Alexei through that split. 46.46 through the split for Zdravko Duponiak. So a half second quicker through the first half of the circuit. Zdravko will be there any moment.
Yeah, we always say it's one thing getting there, but we know Alexei Lamerto is running that higher downforce set, so it's going to make him far more vulnerable down this long start-finish straight, which is always going to play into Zdravko's hands here. So it's looking like Zdravko is going to be able to claim this final podium spot.
Yeah, another second out of Alexei Lamerto on that lap. Zdravko in the low 25s, Alexei in the middle 26s. So yeah, as you said, the downforce working against Alexei, it'll help him through this part of the circuit where you need so much aerodynamic and so much mechanical grip. But you can hear Zdravko there just dip out of the throttle and pitch the car into the corner. He does something interesting here, Tom. He's pushing really hard. When you watch him come into the chicane, he will use a lot of steering lock, just mash as much of the car's weight into that right front tire to get it to turn in. Ooh, a little bit of power oversteer, some opposite lock to keep the car pointed the right direction. But he does get it straightened out in the middle of the chicane. Alexei Lamerto ahead does have the slipstream from Nico Pantola, so Nico lets his teammate through and then jumps back in line. But Alexei Lamerto has he's got his teammate in his mirrors right now, but he's going to have Zdravko Duponiak, that black, blue, and red machine will be in his mirrors. I anticipate down the front stretch. Oh, that overhead shot is so good. Zdravko Duponiak just teasing the edge of the road once again. This is we won't call. I don't know if we'll call this a trophy dash. I guess it's for third position, so we'll call this a trophy dash for the end of the race. They'll cross the line with 5 laps to go. Zdravko Duponiak is there.
Yeah, he's going to start feeling the slipstream either this lap. He's probably got some of it now as he's going to be pulling on forward. He's been very consistent in the low to mid 25s of his lap time. I have to double check what Alexei Lamerto is doing, but I don't think he's matching that.
Zdravko is so good through these first few bends. Full throttle through turn 2. He just dropped a gear like he did on the previous lap and pitched the car in, using the aerodynamics to push the car into the pavement and grip all the way around the corner. A little bit wide through here. And now we'll see if he can get a good run out of the chicane. Uses a lot of lock to get the front of the car to turn in, help the back of the car rotate. And now Zdravko, nice run out of the chicane, using the extra grip from those tires to carry a little bit more speed. Staying out of the slipstream now. I think he doesn't want to catch Lamerto too closely coming into the chicane and compromise the grip late on the brakes. Alexi Lamerto a little bit squirrely at the rear end of the car. That's Zdravko. Oh, Zdravko's right under his rear wing right now. This is where, in the past, I think Zdravko has made tiny little mistakes, but this starting to look like last year's championship finale, though it is not for a championship win today. Zdravko Deponiak right behind Alexi Lamerto, catching him quickly at the end of the final race of the season, and now I think Zdravko will have him pretty easily coming down the front straight.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything Alexi can do here. Zdravko pulls out, is alongside, going into the breaks over turn 1, and he's nicely ahead there, giving him, playing fair, pushing him, holding him to the edge, but leaving him just enough room. He just sweeps on past and just is starting to disappear already up the road with nothing Alexi Lamerto can do. He is a man on an absolute mission, and I think it's just a little bit too late for him to gain anything more. 22 seconds is the deficit. He's got to lead. And over 4 laps, I don't think he's going to have 5 seconds a lap on him.
No, that would be amazing, but I don't imagine that happening. He streaked away so quickly coming through turn 2. Like, as soon as he was through Alexi Lamerto, using the superior state of his machine and his tires, he has just disappeared. He's now 2 seconds, almost 2 seconds up the road from Alexi Lamerto. So Zdravko Deponiak, he had to come from the back. That gap to the leader, which was about 35 seconds at his last stop, he has cut all the way to 23. So Zdravko, I think he struggled in the middle of the race, and now at the end is doing exactly what he said he would do: run hard, push like a madman. He is setting incredibly quick laps. A very, very impressive performance here at the end of the race. It'll come up a little bit short, but it is fun to watch.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe the strategy during the mid-race is just let him down a little bit here. He's just a bit too far back from Gabor and Santu to really do anything here. Gabor is, you can tell he's pushing as well. He's trying to use as much of the road as possible. He's just slipping slightly beyond some of the rumple strips that are available. And Santu Sara there pushing, getting the gap down to 7.3 seconds.
Yeah, Santu catching slightly. Only 3 laps remaining in this race, so I don't, unless Gabor makes a big mistake. We saw him make a small mistake earlier that could have become a big mistake. I think that woke him up, and we won't see it happen again. But Santu, ever so slightly closing the gap. Don't think it'll be enough for them to have a race, a head-to-head dash for the finish. But Santu still pushing really hard, giving it his all to try to claw Gabor back.
Yeah, I think that's Ayub just behind him, and we know Ayub is quick today, and he doesn't look like he's really got any pace to sort of match him. Maybe, I think, yeah, it's just showing how hard these drivers are pushing here today.
Yeah, Santu has just crossed the line to start his 52nd lap. Ayub is going to duck into pit lane. I wonder. This is curious timing, slightly better than Zdravko's timing a couple weeks ago, where he tried to get the fast lap at the end. I wonder if Ayub has gone for the consolation prize of a fast lap. Watching Gabor, oh, there's another one of those tiny mistakes. Not typical of Gabor, but he goes wide over the grass. Santu, closing this gap, stays within the confines of the circuit there. He's got the gap down to 6.8 seconds. I don't think there is enough time, but Santu is pushing. Gabor is struggling slightly, so Santu's still not going away. One mistake from Gabor, and Santu Sara could be right there, fighting for a win. And meanwhile, Zdravko Deponiak still pretty far back, but closing the gap, not giving up. This is what we love and admire about Zdravko Deponiak, is though he ends up in these difficult situations, he never gives up, pushing hard all the way to the end, and giving us a mighty show.
Yeah, one thing, I think Gabor's got a different mental battle he now has to face. He's got one hand on that championship trophy, and he just needs to remember to keep his head in this race and not thinking about lifting that trophy, because that's when you're going to start seeing mistakes, and that's when it could all go horribly wrong for him.
It could. 2 laps remaining now. Gabor starts the 53rd of 54 laps in this race, sweeping through these bends. He can afford to back off a little bit now. He doesn't have to push very hard. That's not going to stop him. We see him dip the wheels just into the grass over the curb there. Pete has made a horrible suggestion in our ears. We hope. I think Gabor has this well in hand, though he goes wide over the curb again. Pete is egging me on in my ear, but I'm not going to give in to his temptations. Gabor pushing hard. I think pushing himself more than he is, trying to stay ahead or thinking he needs to stay ahead of Santusara. So we watch Alexi Lamerto coming down the pit lane. He has been in the box, and now he is approaching the pit exit. Alexi Lamerto well ahead of Heikki Huhtinen in 5th position, so he will retain 4th place easily, though he certainly won't be able to challenge Zdravko Deponiak now, perhaps also going for the fastest lap of the race, though Gabor still has that himself. Stays well wide of the grass coming through the chicane. Santusara closing 6 seconds now. Not close enough to mount a final strike, but Santusara still pushing hard to try to catch Gabor as this man comes through the final corner. The penultimate time across the line to start the final lap of the race. 1 lap away from a championship win for Gabor. He has 1 back marker ahead to negotiate. And he has Santusara 6 seconds behind. Gabor, he touches the curb on the entry. Gabor still pushing really hard, though he doesn't need to. Santu closes 100th there. Gabor could afford to give away a second at every sector and just cruise, but I think this is a statement from Gabor, Tom.
Yeah, this is something we've seen all the way through. Just remember, everybody, the driver of the day poll is available in the chat. So just remember that. Personally, I think it's got to go to Gabor. He's done a fantastic job on strategy. He's had the pace, and he's worked this absolutely masterfully. He's got the fastest lap of the race. Yes, he's not going to make it a Grand Slam, but he is quite possibly just 5 or 6 corners or so away from a championship victory here today.
Yep, I agree with you, Tom. I think Gabor is also my driver of the day, as somebody has gone off in the chicane and left one of those stacks of tires there in the road. That could have been terrible for Gabor. That corner is unsighted. So he came through right after Costa, who had put one of those tire stacks in the middle of the road. Gabor punts it out of the way, continues unaffected, weaving across the road. Gabor will be the champion for the 2nd season of the MRC BF1 League. 3 wins from 6 of these races, easily in command the entire way today. It looked like there would be a fight early on, but Gabor took control in the second half of the race and won 6 seconds from Santusara in 2nd position, and Zdravko Deponiak, who mounted a spirited charge, not quite enough today, chasing his competitor once again for a championship, but not enough in the closing laps of the final race of the season. Still an impressive performance from Zdravko. Ran very fast laps near the end of the race. Just missed taking the fastest lap away from Gabor. You can see Gabor did a 24.74. Zdravko Deponiak on his final lap, a 24.79. It was in the 18-second bracket in his first split on the final lap. And we see the 2 Fragmaster drivers running in formation on their cooldown lap. Zdravko weaving off to the side of the road. Not sure what happened there. All right, there we go. Gabor in 1st position. We will see him on the top step of the podium, or rather the first position in the podium photo under the gantry here in just a moment. Santusara in 2nd position with Zdravko Deponiak in 3rd. Alexi Lamerto, one of the sidest drivers, Gabor's teammate, will finish 4th. Heikki Huhtinen runs a strong 5th position. We didn't talk about him the entire race. We saw him a couple times, but otherwise a quiet and consistent run from Heikki Huhtinen to finish 5th. Nico Bertola will finish in 6th, with Ayub El-Anouni might have been able to finish near the top, if not at the top, but once again, heartbreaking for Ayub. Equipment lets him down once again. Not internet today. Appeared to be a controller failure, but he didn't give up. Managed to reclaim 7th position after falling all the way to the back. Imran Azar finishes 8th with Rafael Costa. Rafael Costa also drove really well early in this race, and then just a bit of bad luck as we see Gabor doing donuts in front of his Fragmaster competitor there in the background. Rafael Costa in 9th position. Gabor, he's messed up the front of the car for the podium photo. Nearly tank slaps the Fragmaster car. We'll let them have their fun. Rafael Costa in ninth position, Jeffik Jakob in 10th. Daniel Lukostic finishes 11th after a strong early drive, disappointing for him as well. And in 12th position, rounding out the order, is Lorenzo Lucidi. Tom, that was the cars were spread out. The action kind of came and went, but what we enjoy seeing are these strong performances, these spirited drives from these very talented drivers, and we got that again today.
Yeah, fantastic performance from pretty much everyone on the field here today. Gabor has proven why he deserves this championship. He missed 2 rounds, but it hasn't stopped him. His first round back, he didn't miss a beat, got straight back to winning ways, and put in a very strong performance to bring back the Drivers' Championship for himself.
He did indeed. That will mean, once again, that Gabor is the driver's champion. He takes 26 points today to add to his tally of 65, I believe. So he will finish well ahead of everyone else in the championship standings. We'll need to check on the team's points. The Fragmaster squad, finishing second to third, may just have swiped the team's championship away. We will run the numbers in the background and let everyone know how that turned out. Watch Gabor do a few more donuts. We will let him celebrate. And while he does, we will take a break for just a few moments, and then we will come back for interviews. Thanks for staying with us. We'll be right back. We are back and we do have a few interviews lined up. Gabor has moved on to other obligations, so we will not have a chance to talk to him, but we do have second place finisher, Fragmaster driver, Zdravko Tefoniak's teammate, Sentu Sara. Sentu, you ran a beautiful race today. Snatched pole position, ran strong, not quite enough for Gabor, but that looked like a comfortable race for you.
Yeah, thanks. Just one scary moment with the blue flag car, and I was a bit too careful at the start. I was not having a good time in practice. Like I only managed to do 5 laps before crashing for like 10 times in a row. So I was really worried about the race, and also I didn't do any stints with R4s. So I was a bit worried about how the end will go. But in the end, it went good enough, and I surprised myself. Was happy to finish second here since I missed the last race because I got sick, so I just couldn't race.
Oh, sorry to hear that you got sick, but it was good to have you back today. You put on a fantastic performance. You did an incredible job in qualifying to put yourself so far ahead of everyone else. What was your thinking in terms of strategy when you were going into today's race?
Just what Number told me, since he did more practice than me, so I didn't have my own plan this time.
Yeah, we're curious to get his thoughts on his strategy because he gave us a few possibilities ahead of time, and it wasn't. I guess we can talk to both of you at the same time. We'll get your thoughts on this strategy. Zdravko, third place today. You put on a spirited performance, not quite enough for the top spot. But we were asking Sentu about the strategy today. He said that he did what you suggested, and we're curious. We're curious about your strategy, your thoughts on it, what your plan was.
Well, I was thinking that I'd probably do like 80 plus 100% fuel, and then finish with our force on 40. But I was kind of thinking that there might be a safety car. I didn't know who will race, but I expected more races because it's a last race of a season. So I kind of expected safety cars and wanted to get R4 out of the way at the first stint. But I also did not want to get high fuel with R3s at the start, so they would get too hot. So I opted to do one more stop and go lower fuel, and Sentu did I think what I originally wanted to do. But yeah, I know that Gabor is very fast, so I gambled on a safety car with my straight, and Sentu did what normal same person would do, and it worked great for him.
Yeah, you showed really good pace during the race. I feel like in the middle section of the race, your pace did drop off a bit. Is there any reason why that happened, or is it just how the car flowed during that section?
Well, I touched Gabor in first lap, first turn. Again, I was thinking that we're far away from Sentu, that we won't get any dirty air. And when I came to the turn and tried to turn in, and I even lifted before the turn to get Sentu away from us, to get rid of dirty air, and I tried to turn, the car just didn't turn at all. And I brushed with Gabor slightly. I think he didn't get much damage, but I got quite a lot camber damage on the front left, and I was like, if it won't cost me like half a second per lap, I'm not gonna repair it. I don't think it did cost me that much, but what it did, and I'm quite surprised that it did that. My other front tire, the right one, started overheating, because now in the turns where the left tire is inner one, because of low camber that I made with crashing, it gripped so hard that it started to overheat the outside tire even more. The inner tire never slid, and before in the practices, on my setup I always had like similar temperatures, like 1 degree up or down on the fronts, and in the race it was like 10-15 degrees difference. So it contributed a lot into making that tire, the other tire that was not hit, slide. and I just had to go through the hit cycle that was much harder and longer than I thought it will be. And I played with anti-roll bars. I pulled all the balance that I could still drive the car to the front. So I got the hit in the rears also higher than I wanted, but I saved the front from. That front would actually blow if I just continued like that probably. So yeah, I had to make some compromises until the temperatures got down a bit. And once they got down, the car was fast. I think my fastest lap was like very close to Gabber's. So the car was fast, but that hit cycle, that crash on the other corner of the car just ruined the early phase for the car. It was just very bad to drive.
Yeah, your fastest lap was, I think it was 500th of a second off Gabber's. So with the two of you, done a fantastic job today. Did you have any plans of using team tactics if it came to it out there today, or is that a secret you want to keep out of the public eye?
No.
I was only joking that I will block, but I didn't.
Yeah, I respect Gabber too much. We're teammates in Yes Motorsports anyway, so it would be a bad sport. I wanted to win fair, or yeah, if I can't win fair, then I don't deserve to win anyway. So good job to him. He drove an amazing race. It was great pace, and yeah, great championship for him.
Well, great effort from you two. We appreciate you turning up and putting on a great show for us. Not quite how you wanted it to turn out, but second and third I think is really strong. And we still need to crunch the points, but I think you guys managed to take a team's championship because Gabor was the only one running up points for Team Citus 2, and you guys finished so strongly today. So thanks again for your participation and a great performance today. We had a lot of fun watching you guys. And, thanks for joining us in the commentary box. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we got a couple more interviews lined up. We'll talk to Rafael Costa briefly. Rafael, you looked really strong early on. You know, we've seen you struggle a little bit here and there in the past, but today it looked like you prepared really well. You were keeping Alexi Lamerto behind you early in the race, which was really impressive. And then it looked like just a tiny mistake, you turned into really bad luck. You got turned around and caught up in a collision, and then it was a difficult race after that.
Can you hear me today?
Yes, we can.
I think I fixed my microphone. I didn't prepare myself too well for this race. I got into the race without a strategy, but it was the start was a very good start. I managed to be P3 for a very good part of the start of the race. But I misjudged my space and touched the back of the number 93, and after someone crashed me again, and that second crash did cost me a very good time. I had to pitch after this crash. After I had another crash with number 93 again. He didn't leave me any space, so we ended up touching again. But it was a very good race for a race that I didn't prepare myself very well. It was a very nice race, to be honest.
Yeah, the second collision that happened where I think it was Daniel Kastic who came into collision with you when I think it was Lamerto who went round the outside of you, and then there was a bit of a collision that happened there. Do you want to just sort of fill us in what happened in that crash from your perspective?
Sorry, the one after I crashed with number 93.
Yeah, I think Tom's referring to where you came together with Daniel Lukastik on the front straightaway. Looked like he just didn't see you, but curious what your perspective is.
Probably no. I crashed with number 93, and I think I got on the curb, and he probably didn't have any time to do anything, and ended up hitting me. So that's it. Probably he just didn't have any time to react about it.
Yeah, unfortunate, but honest mistake. These things happen sometimes. Shame that it affected your race once again. But it sounds like you're happy with your performance this race, and I guess reflect on your season.
It was a pretty bad season, but I had some good moments. I can say that if I keep practicing a lot, I can have a really good pace, good consistency. So maybe for the next season we can go a bit better.
All right, good deal. Well, hopefully there will be another one. I know Tom and I and our viewers have really enjoyed it, so hopefully we'll see another BF1 season. And if we do, that you will be there. And congratulations on your pace today. We were really impressed watching you keep Alexi Lamerto behind you. Impressive show. We've seen you improve a lot this season. It's been a joy to watch.
Well, for the start of the season, I really wasn't prepared for nothing, but now in the end, at least for something I was prepared.
Good deal. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us in the commentary box, and we hope to see you at future events. We've got one more interview lined up. That'll do it for all our drivers. So we'll remind everybody one more time that there is a driver of the day poll in chat, so go have a look at that before it closes. We have from the MRC team, Tim Donater. Tim, that was a great race today. Not quite the participation we like to see, but the best drivers were duking it out at the front. They all put on a really strong show. Good performances from guys like Rafael Costa as well, who has improved so much from the beginning of the season. Reflect on it for us.
You saw certain drivers grow during the course of the season. You saw also the drivers' participation drop off a bit, which was sad as organizers to see. But I think even with the drivers we had left, we put on some great races, and it was a joy to watch.
Talk about a season 3 of the BF1 League. Will we see another one?
That all depends on Ricky. He's the guy who worked so hard to make this possible, and I hope we will have a season 3, but it all depends on how much time he has.
All right. Well, we hope to see another one because I know we have enjoyed this so much. This is, I think, the pinnacle of live for speed racing because these cars are so challenging to drive, and the drivers demonstrate so much talent when they get in them. So we thank you for helping to put on this event and letting us present it, and thanks for sharing your thoughts to reflect on the season.
I would like also to thank all drivers and everybody from Sim Broadcast and NDR for making this entire season possible.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. That is Tim Donater, everybody, from the MRC team. I think, Tom, that will nearly do it for us. Why don't you reflect on the season?
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed commentating on the season. It's been really interesting to watch. I've loved how the format is and the drivers and how the competition has just been absolutely fantastic, and just trying to guess what the strategies each driver's running, and just seeing the different ones come through and some fall back, and then also seeing some of the lows of the drivers. It's sad to see, but then also watch them rebound 2 weeks later at the next race. It's been really good showing from everyone, and I thoroughly enjoyed commentating on it.
Yeah, and that's I echo all of those thoughts. It has been really fun to see the top talent running at the front and showing why they are consistently at the top of the standings for all of these different Live for Speed events. The guys who are running at the top here, really demonstrating their skill and their talent. Also, as you said, the guys who they have a difficult race one weekend, and then the next time they come out, they put on a really strong performance to rebound. Ayub is a driver who comes to mind for me. A run of bad luck, and then finally puts it together and gets a win that he really deserved. Those kind of moments have been really fun to watch. So it's been a joy putting this on for everybody. Tom, I have thoroughly enjoyed presenting this event with you. It has been a lot of fun to share the commentary box with you, and I hope we get to do this again.
I very much do as well, Travis. It's been absolutely great fun and a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Tom. All right, that will do it for us. We do have a long list of people to thank from the MRC team. Rick Rashitska, who put on this event. Michael Malik, also one of the organizers from the MRC team. Tim Donater, who we just talked to a few moments ago. All of those guys helped make this possible. We really appreciate them making this event for us to present to all of you. From the New Dimension Racing team, who have stepped up to work with MRC to sanction this event. Jonathan Palmer, Jonathan Provost, Zdeněk Tagash in the steward's position. Stuart Baker's there in the course car. He didn't have much to do today. I think this is the first week that he didn't, but we thank him for being around. And then everybody from the SBTV crew. Peter Butcher does many things. Today he does production work. He's the man in our ears, along with Elmo, the other guy in our ears, calling all the action on the circuit, doing software development, making these beautiful cameras for us. Tilo Falkenberg has done our graphics. Daniel Bala does the social media and videography. If you like our intro videos and our promotional stuff, that's Daniel Bala. Very talented. Great work from him. And then, of course, Tom Jones, my friend in the commentary box, and I have been Travis Mehlinger. For all of our viewers out there, we really appreciate your patronage. Thank you very much for joining us on this journey. We hope to do this again for you soon. And some parting thoughts on the state of the world for our friends and family in Russia. Those of you standing up and speaking out against this regime, we admire your bravery and your courage, and even more so to the people of Ukraine. We're thinking of you, your courageous defense of your country. We know it's dangerous there right now. We hope you can be as safe as you possibly can, and we want you to return to your homes as soon as you may be. Slava Ukraini. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Be safe, be well, have a great day. Goodbye.